listeners. Stace and Barry say hello. I don't know the rest of the words to this song. Hi guys, welcome to Stace and Barry in the morning. I'm the Stace half of Stace and Barry, and joining me on the other end of this microphone, that sounds like we've got a double-ended microphone and we're sat right next to each other. That is not the case. Is my delightful friend and good morning buddy, Barry Noogecake.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey. Hello. When you said back end, I kind of imagined us with like 2 tin cans and a string shouting each other from other rooms.
From Birmingham to Northampton.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh no, I just looked away from the microphone so that I could shout Barry without it being too much of a thing and realised that my chimney breast is leaking. Wicked.
Oh. Which is better than what I actually thought you said. Was I looked away and realised my breast was leaking.
I mean, that happens all the time when I talk to you, but I mean,
hey,
let's move on.
Yeah.
I should start this episode with an apology because last episode, which was like a full-on month ago, or maybe a bit more, I said the immortal words, and we're going to try and stick to more of a schedule this time round. And then I got really sick. And then I got better, but I got really busy. And then I got really sick again. So I doomed myself. And I let you down, and I'm very sorry. But, you know, sometimes I feel like as much as I would like to podcast, the last thing you guys want to hear is me going for like 25 minutes.
Yeah, and me, by extension, I don't really want to be editing you coughing your lungs out.
No, because the thing is as well, I don't even have the technological prowess, even after doing podcasting for like over 12 years now.
Wow.
I can't even figure out how to mute my microphone so I can cough while you're talking without it registering. So I am the actual worst. I'm very sorry. But we're here now, and that's what matters. Yes. And I'm never going to make ill-timed promises of our availability ever again.
So basically what you've just done is you've just recapped the end of Superman 2, where after he's let everyone down because he flew off with Lois Lane, and then Zod comes in and like rips the joint up, and then he comes back at the end with the American flag, puts it down, and he's kind of like, Mr. President, sorry I've let you down. I won't do that again. That's basically what you've just done. Yeah, I applaud you for that.
Thanks. I mean, you added the bit where I said I won't do it again, though, because there's a real strong chance I will do it again.
Yeah, I know. And to be honest, next time it'll probably be me. So I'm just, you know.
I mean, I'd like to say I really want to make an effort to do this more regularly because I love talking to Barry and it's like hella fun. But, you know, sometimes life kicks you in the sinuses and goes, no, bitch, shut your face. So I'm very sorry. But we've got what I'm sure is going to be a super action-packed, awesome episode coming up for you. I don't know that for sure. Again, I'm not making any promises anymore because I'm scared that I'm going to let you all down.
I can promise it's gonna looking at my list, it's gonna be a corker.
Barry's half is going to be great.
Yeah, my half is all sorted.
We'll see. The jury's still out.
We'll see.
On that note, shall we crack right the fuck on with our segments?
Let's crack the fuck on.
Okay. It's Musical Musings. Yeah.
It's quite a jaunty little tune.
Oh, thanks. It was a little bit of the Mario theme.
Hey. Oh yes, I can hear it now.
God, was it that shit?
Wow.
God, already I'm letting the side down.
Oh, you went all of 15 seconds there.
Oh, woo! It's got to be some kind of personal sucking record.
Anyway.
Ew! No, go on, Barry. Your turn. Oh God!
I just dropping double entendres left, right, and centre. Yes. So I'll go first. So this my music musing, I'm really genuinely very, very excited about because I would never have picked this in probably the entire, and I've never picked this in any of my podcasting career. And as anyone who knows me knows, I do a lot of picking musical tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So this comes from a show. It comes from a 1980s TV show that I used to watch way back in the day. And do you remember? You may not. But you might have heard of it. It was a show called Amazing Stories.
Nope, not a clue.
Ooh, right. So this, he says, trying to find a blurb for it now. But I can explain. It was, I think the full title was Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories.
Right.
So if you think about shows like The Twilight Zone,
yeah,
or like The Outer Limits, but imagine that, but it's a more positive
okay.
spin. So it's kind of like Weird and Wonderful Stories, but with a positive twist, as opposed to like The Twilight Zone, which the twist is you're fucked.
Yeah.
And yes, this sort of came on in the 80s, and most of the stories are quite good, but it launched with I think it was a feature length episode. He says, going to search Spielberg, the mission. Yeah, so it launched with an episode called The Mission, which was back in 1985. And the blurb for it was, a courageous young World War II gunner and aspiring cartoonist is trapped in the belly gun of a B-17 aircraft with the landing gear destroyed. Has only his imagination as a force. Click full summary. Has only his imagination as a force that might be able to save him.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I don't know if you know with like B-17 with like a bomber, but basically underneath the bomber you have there's like a little bubble where you have the gunner sits. And what it is this this plane is built on many missions, and he's considered like the lucky one of the crew. They all sort of rub him for luck before they go on the mission. And this is like its final mission coming back, and it all goes to shit, and the landing gear gets destroyed, which basically means that because of where he sits, when the plane lands, he will be crushed because there's no landing gear. Does that make sense?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Did you say there was a positive spin?
There was a positive. So basically on the flight, the rest of the crew are trying all these different ways to sort of get him, and he's stuck in there. So they're trying all these different ways to get him out, and they can't get him out. And obviously the amazing part comes with how he gets out. Do you want to know how he gets out? Or would you rather try to find the episode and watch it? I think you can find it on YouTube.
Oh, I might try and watch it then. And then if I can't find it, inevitably message you and go, how did it end, B?
Yeah. But the cast that it had for this episode included Kevin Costner and Kiefer Sutherland.
Bloody hell.
It was directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Steven Spielberg, and the music for this episode, and also the music for the series, who did the opening sort of credits, was done by none other than Johnny Boy Williams.
Good Lord.
Exactly, Stace. And basically, I've actually cheated. I've picked 2 tracks, and you kind of need to have both tracks because one track leads into the other track, if that makes sense. And I only discovered them on Spotify this week. I didn't realize that actually the album's on Spotify. And the tracks are called Jonathan Starts to Draw and The Landing.
Right.
And for me, these 2 pieces of music, this is John Williams at his best.
Wow.
And you will have never heard these 2 pieces of music.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, the entire album is great. It's on Spotify. But yeah, these 2 pieces of music, because one piece of music is so dramatic and everything's gone wrong and they're coming into land and there's like no hope. and the guy who's trapped, who's called Jonathan, is trying to do something. I don't want to say what it is in case you do able to watch it.
Yeah.
And then the second part of it is what he does works, obviously, because it's called Amazing Stories. And it's just this, it's a cliche. It's just this amazing piece of music that I remember hearing. I would have been 16. I remember watching that episode and hearing that music and everything that went on with it, and I was in tears. I remember it really, really, really vividly. I was in absolute floods of tears watching it because the music just had such a effect to me. I think if you watched it now, I don't necessarily think it may not have the same effect to you because, you know, there's some special effects that are a bit ropey and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, the music doesn't change. The music is still legend.
Yeah, John Williams is just, like, upsettingly good at his job, isn't he?
And to discover, and I think as well, to discover pieces of, because I've listened to all of his stuff so many times over, to actually discover an album of music by him that I haven't heard since I was 16 was just quite an amazing experience for me this week.
Yeah, so, yeah. I can imagine. I feel like my musical musing might come off as somewhat idiotic now. Because you're like
that.
You know, undiscovered John Williams gems from dramatic scenes in a rad show from the 80s, and I'm like, so my pick of my musical musings pick for this week is So Sexy Robotnik by Power Glove.
Okay.
Yeah. So Power Glove are a band I discovered recently because my good old friend Duncan from Stace, Bob and the Dweebs, we did an episode about the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yep. And he informed me that there was a rad metal cover of the theme that plays whenever you fight Robotnik at the end of a level. And that's Power Glove, that is. So they are essentially like a metal band that just do covers of video game and old school cartoon theme songs.
Okay.
They're so rad. I was like, the best thing about them, I think, is the fact that some of their songs are called some stuff really ridiculous things. Like, for example, this isn't just called like Robotnik's theme or whatever, it's called So Sexy Robotnik. Because apparently, and this is a story that Duncan told me, and I believe him because I'm quite gullible, it might not be true, but apparently when Robotnik was originally conceived of as a Sonic villain, he was supposed to be like the world's most attractive fat man.
Okay.
Yeah, which I don't think the designers did a very good job with that brief. He's certainly a fat man.
Yes.
But I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I think being a bald fat guy with a very ostentatious moustache is probably up in somebody's wheelhouse. It's got to be in somebody's. It's not in mine. I will be honest. But yeah, it's really good because basically all they do is they just arrange those sort of like chiptune and like 8-bit bits of music into rad metal songs. So that's pretty much all I've been listening to for this past week, basically, because the Sonic movie came out and I got very excited about it.
I thought I'd be more excited because I used to love Sonic. That's my era.
Yeah.
And yet for some reason I will watch the movie. I think it's probably because it's Jim Carrey. Just annoys me.
I think it will. Your tolerance of that movie will be based entirely upon, like, do you like Ace Ventura era Jim Carrey? Because if not, then you will probably hate it. Okay. I, however, fucking love, like The Mask / Ace Ventura style Jim Carrey. I like most Jim Carrey, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm fully on board.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always going to be a streaming watch for me anyway. So, But at least he looks more like Sonic now, so I'm willing to give it a go.
That's true. That is very true. It was an abomination before.
Yeah, I try not to even. I don't even want to discuss that first trailer.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing is, though, he still does have human teeth, which I find a bit off-putting.
Yeah.
But so does E.T., and that's one of the things that used to really scare me about E.T. So I say used to scare me. I'm still scared of E.T.
He still looks like, as far as I'm concerned, he still looks like a turd.
Yeah, he does look like a giant waddling turd monster.
Yeah.
And I hate him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different thing for a different day.
There you go, kids. There's a little bit of positivity to take away with you on a Saturday morning. E.T. looks like a piece of shit.
Wrinkly little turd face. It's his big extendy neck. I can't stand. Oh. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it.
No.
So Sexy Robotnik. Do a listen to that. It'll brighten your day, I think.
Cool. Boom. Done.
Boom indeed.
Do you want to do Saturday morning cartoons?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me think of a theme. Let me just think of a theme. I tell you what, have a little bit of, in my opinion, the best music from a Sonic game. That's Chemical Plant, that is.
It is. I remember that. I want to go and play it now. I haven't got a Mega Drive, but I proper want to go and play it now.
I'm sure there's got to be a downloadable version of it somewhere on some console now, she says, optimistic.
I always remember playing, I think it was it Sonic the Hedgehog 2 when Tails came in?
Yes.
And I remember like they put a poster out, the game hadn't come out, and it was like, he had a psychic and it was Tails. I was like, what?
Mate,
shit got real.
I fucking loved Tails. Like, my sister hates the way that I play Sonic games because I do not want to go fast. Like,
yeah.
I know the whole point of Sonic is to go really fucking fast, but it always disoriented me. So I was the girl who was like walking along and jumping on stuff, and if she had to do a loop-de-loop, she had to like get down into a little Sonic crouch and rev up a bit, and then phew. Whereas when Tails came into it, I was like, oh, it's a character who doesn't have to go super fast. Yes. I'm just there, helicopter tailing around the place, like, look at me, checking out all the stuff. Anyway.
Anywho, Saturday morning cartoons. Have you got one?
I have. Although I say I have. I don't know if it's really appropriate for a Saturday morning because I feel like Saturday morning cartoons are supposed to be like fun and uplifting and that.
Okay.
But I recently watched BoJack Horseman ended at the end of January. They put out the last, I want to say 5 episodes of the last series of it, and I put them all in my eyes, and now I'm sad because it's gone.
Right.
I want it back in my life. It's so good. Did you ever watch BoJack?
I started to watch it. I think I watched most of the first season and then stopped watching it, but I didn't stop watching. No, but I didn't stop watching it through because I wasn't enjoying it. It's just one I seem to have a lot of shows like that where I've just drifted away from it and I've completely forgotten that I was actually watching it.
Fair enough. It's one of those things where I have a hard time recommending it to people. Not because it's not good, because I think it's fucking phenomenal, but I do think it's a bit slow to start. It takes a while to find its stride. And I understand with like how much shit there is to watch now that you wouldn't want to spend a lot of time with a show that you've got to spend a lot of time with before you even get into it. But it's also like it's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
Like it's not afraid at all to talk about mental health and addiction and failed relationships and eating disorders and like gun control and abortion. Like it's a fearless show. But I think what I've always loved about it is the fact that it's like it feels really realistic. One of the big things that really struck me in the last couple of seasons was the fact that like BoJack is actually a dickhead. He's a really huge dickhead, but he's written in such a way that it's very much like he's very human, as even though he's totally a horse.
Yeah.
Because like everybody makes mistakes. Like nobody's perfect. Nobody has perfect mental health. Nobody always says the right thing. Nobody's gone through life without hurting somebody or saying something stupid or whatever. And they're not afraid to show that in all of their characters. Like, they all have flaws, but they all have good points too, and they're all superhuman and stuff. And it was like, it's one of those really bittersweet endings where it's not necessarily happy, but it felt satisfying.
Yeah.
It was a nice way to round it up, considering the fact that they had to round it up earlier than I think they were planning to. Because I think the creator of it said he had another, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 seasons he had in mind for it. But it got canned a bit sooner than anticipated. Whoops. Yeah, but it's just one of those shows that, like, you need to be in a good mindset to be able to handle it, I think, because, like I say, it's not afraid to touch on some really heavy shit. And a lot of the episodes have just made me cry, like full on cry. But similarly, when it ended, it felt like kind of nice, because it felt like you'd seen a lot of the characters through to some sort of conclusion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So even though there's a lot of room for knowing what would have come next, but similarly you don't feel like anything's been left hanging and you've been like gypped as a viewer because it's been cut off early or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was a really good ending, and I just think there's so many episodes of that show where they do things that are just so innovative and so clever. Like, you know, not to spoil or anything, but there's an episode where it's kind of based on the idea of, like, the woman who has it all kind of thing. Like, how on earth do you have a job and raise a child and do all of this and blah, blah, blah. And they use this really awesome way of, like, animating so that you can see each bit of the mother's mind, like, breaking off to think about X, Y, and Z and how many things she's got juggling all at once. And it almost feels like you almost start feeling panicked about, like, everything that's happening. Like, how am I going to do this and how is she going to do that and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And there's loads of episodes where they take chances like that, and it's just really, really clever. And also, I'm always going to laud it because it is the only show that I've watched anyway that has had not only an openly asexual character, but an openly asexual character who figures himself out whilst on the show. So, like, it's never just like, oh, he's asexual, but we're never going to talk about it because we don't want to have to do any research or find out what that means or figure out how that actually affects his character. Like, they make it a real part of him, but it's also the only part of him, because that's the other problem that you get with other shows is you'll have a character where it's like, this guy's gay, and then that's the only, like, personality that they have is, like, gay and rainbows. Whereas, like, this, it's actually like Todd still being absolutely 100% Todd with all his Todd shenanigans, but similarly he's, like, trying to figure out his own, like, path and his sexuality and how that, you know, what does that mean in terms of his relationships with other people and, like, all this other stuff. It was just really nice to see that represented on TV, because it's not something that you see a lot, and when you do, it's often shit. So yeah, BoJack Horseman, it's now finished, so, and it's all on Netflix, so if you haven't watched it, then give it a watch. Cool. It's done now. It's not like The Simpsons, we have to catch up. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was on Amazon.
I believe it's Netflix, but don't quote me on that now. You've got me doubting myself.
I could be mistaken. Well, it'd be on one of the two, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So. It's watchable legally.
Yay! We love a bit of legality. I will do my Saturday morning cartoon, and then I reckon we'll get out of here.
Gasp!
That sound alright?
I mean, it does, but I did have a pick of the fortnight. But go on.
I had the pick of the.
We talked too long. I'm sorry.
We talked too long. We'll see how we go. But I'm probably gonna. I think when I tell you what my Saturday morning cartoon is, I think that will probably take up the rest of the episode.
Go on then.
So my Saturday morning cartoon could be summed up with a song. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Don't know why I'm saying it's so Cockney. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtles in a half shell. Take on Batman.
Yes.
So I watched Batman versus the Ninja Turtles, or
right.
I actually don't know what the actual official title is.
I think that's what it's called, or it's the other way around, and like it's TMNT versus Batman, one of the two.
Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
There
we go. So, you know, when you kind of go into something and you think, you know what, I've got some time to kill. I'll just stick this on in the background. Maybe I'll have a beer, you know, because it's not going to be all that. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know.
Yeah.
And then
straight to DVD.
Yeah, you know. And then within about, I don't know, 15 minutes, you're like, what the hell? All of a sudden, the beer is swapped for coffee so you can concentrate more. You suddenly stopped all the other stuff you were doing. You've actually rewound it to start watching it again because you're like, I got to give this show the attention it deserves. Oh, sweet Lord, this what?
Isn't it great? Isn't it fucking great?
It did not deserve to be that great. And I'm not knocking Ninja Turtles. I like me Ninja Turtles, but it just didn't. Batman versus Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles, whatever you want to call it as a title, did not deserve to be as good as it actually was.
Right, me and Duncan liked it so much we bought Podcast in a Half Shell out of retirement for it.
I mean, wow!
Like Michelangelo is so fucking funny, like so fucking funny. I was dying. It is so good. Good Lord, who'd have thought?
Yeah, but I think what it does really, really well, even though what you said is it's able to be really funny, brutal.
Yep.
Because people get killed in this hardcore.
People get fucked in this movie. Jesus Christ.
There was just a lot of me just going, well, he's not getting up again, you know?
Yep.
And genuinely some security guards that I genuinely felt sorry for. And I'm like, dude's just doing his job. Do you know what I mean? He's just doing his job. And I think where it started, where I kind of thought, oh crap, they're actually killing people. I think there's a bit, and it's just before, there's an absolutely wicked fight. And that was when I was like, so Batman has a fight with the Ninja Turtles, which is good. It's a good fight.
Yeah.
But then he has a fight with the Foot Clan. I think that's later, isn't it? And Batman takes him out, and then he's interrogating one of the Foot guys. And in the middle of his interrogation, the Foot bloke, he's just there to do a job, you know. He gets a shuriken in his head, and he's like in the middle of his head, and that's when I was like, oh, hang on a minute, let me rewind that. Oh no, it really is. There's blood and everything. No, that guy's dead. And then Shredder comes in. Now, normally, outside of the comics, Shredder looks a bit silly.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, whether you like him or not, he looks a bit silly.
How he can move around in what he apparently wears and not constantly be poking his own eyes out and stuff is beyond me.
However, in this show, you don't mess with the Shredder.
Oh my God, not even a bit.
That fight he has with Batman, I was just, oh my God.
Like, the fight towards the end when they're in that like weird factory thing and they're all fighting in the rafters and shit. Like, oh my God. I mean, to be fair, yet again, Donatello sees the brunt of fucking... Like, why is it always Donatello? What has Kevin Eastman got against Donatello? I've got to know. Because he's always getting him, like, the shit kicked out of him. And there is a bit in that where I think it's the Shredder breaks Donnie's arm. And it's fucking brutal. I was like, oh no! Like, I was literally on the edge of my seat, like, Duncan, what's going to happen? He's like, calm down. It's just a cartoon. I'm like, Donatello.
No,
getting real stressed.
Well, even Batman got effed up. In the first fight he has with the Shredder, the fight's going well. They're quite evenly matched, which is the animation in the fights is amazing. Having done martial arts clang, it was really good to watch it. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like, oh, he's blocking, and it was just it was really, really good, but they were quite evenly matched. And all of a sudden, I think Batman does this sort of move, he jumps off, and it's all slow-mo. And then the Shredder does this sort of slow-mo move, and then you see like the symbol of the foot behind him. I thought, this is going to end badly for Bats.
Yeah.
And he kind of does his move, and then Batman's there coughing blood, and he was like, "Stay out of my way. Next time I'll kill you." I was like, "Oh, Bats, you got an arse in, dude."
You got owned. Yeah, it's like, oh, mate. When I watched it, we legitimately, like, me and Dunk were like, we'll watch it if it's either so shit that we can rant about it or it's good enough to talk about. We'll do a podcast in a half shell. We got like 5 minutes in and we're like, we're doing an episode about this. Yeah, this is too good.
But it managed to pack in. So it did the Turtles, had Batman, had Shredder, had Ra's al Ghul, had
Penguin,
had Penguin, had Damien, had all the Batman villains, had Batgirl.
Mm-hmm.
Still managed to be brutal, serious, but at the same time be really funny. And the humor always worked within the context. It never felt out of place. And the Batman and Turtles relationship worked really well, actually developed over the course. And I think there's a really wicked bit where like Raphael kind of has a go at Batman, where Batman's basically telling them to like all go home, and Raphael's like, "No, I'm not having this," and he goes and has a go at him because they're very similar.
Mm.
I was so invested in this, it was untrue. Yeah.
It was a bit of a while ago when I watched it now, but there was one line in it that I still remember now that really cracked me up, which is, and I can't remember the context of it, but at one point Michelangelo pops his head inside his shell and then just goes, "Can't hear you, bro, head's in my shell." And so I was just like, that is so Michelangelo, it's wonderful.
But even the way they use the shells, I think there's a bit they're falling from really high, and they both go into their shells, and the shell just like nothing happens because they're in a shell.
It just like tinks on the floor.
Yeah, it's just little. There was just so many little sort of touches.
Those like Sin City style opening credits.
Yeah.
Shit the bed, mate.
Yeah, and there's a couple of bits where they're fighting, and it's kind of silhouetted as well, and it's just really stylish. And as I said, there's one scene, I think it's when they're going to Arkham Asylum. I don't know if it's Shredder, Ra's al Ghul. And that was the sequence where I was like, they're just guards doing the job.
Yeah.
And they just get effed up. And I'm just like, there's just no need. And I think there's one guy who's there, and I don't know if he's drinking a coffee. There's a typical one where I think he's drinking a coffee and he's watching the screens. And then he's looking at screens, and I think he's seen his buddies getting killed. He's like, "Oh no!" And he goes to do, and then the lights come on, and I don't know if it's the Shredder or if it's Ra's al Ghul standing behind him, but it's one of the two. And I'm just like, you don't see what happens to that guy. But I'm like, I don't need to see what happens to that guy to know he got fucked up.
Yeah, he's not going home to the wife and kids.
he's not finishing that cup of coffee and that sandwich he was eating.
Unfinished sandwich.
Yeah. So yes, that's my Saturday morning cartoon, and I told you that would take up all the time.
Well, in the spirit of being an arsehole, I'm just going to say that my pick of the fortnight would have been the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Okay.
It's really good. I really liked it. It's like, it is 100% like a total cliche sort of character has appeared on the human world, makes a friend, also an enemy. They've got to sort their lives out. It's so standard, the plot, but it's really funny. It's really charming. There's a lot of Sonic Easter eggs in it. Jim Carrey is wonderful. Ben Schwartz is absolutely perfect because he plays Sonic more as like an excitable, inquisitive kid rather than like a dickhead. Because like a lot of the Sonic cartoons just portray Sonic as being a bit of a prick, and you kind of want him to get smished by Robotnik. And it's just it's really sweet. And the mid-credit sequence had me so excited I did a little punch in the air. There you go. Cool. Quick review.
Job done.
And that was Stace and Barry in the morning. I'd like to call it Series 2, Episode 11, but I'm not really sure if you can call this a series because we've only done one episode in about 6 years.
It's a little bit more than that, but yes.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Hey, thanks for listening. Have a bloody good Saturday and Sunday and all the days after that until we speak to you again, you beautiful, beautiful people. I'm sorry my chair is creaking so much right now.
But we will hopefully see you in a fortnight.
Fingers crossed, everybody, that we don't get a flood or a cold or a sickness or
any other act of God you could think of.
Yeah, but I will say this now, Barry. I'm not recording on Pancake Day because pancakes are more important than podcasts.
I'm not even going to argue.
Just so you can schedule that in your diary. Where I'm not recording on Pancake Day.
I will pull up Outlook straight away.
See you, lovelies. Mwah.
Bye all.